Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll just give it another minute to let a few more people come through. I know we've got quite a few registered today, and then we'll make a start. Do feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're dialing from if you want while we wait. I'm actually sitting in a very warm office in Hampshire at the moment, being a little bit warm. Ben, where are you at the moment? Which area are you located?
I'm in Chippenham, which is not far from Bath.
Nice, yeah. And I think we'll just make a start. So welcome everyone. Really glad you're all here, and thank you all for joining us today. The title on screen might be a bit of a bold claim, but during the webinar, we're going to show you exactly how it happened with real numbers from Ben. So let's get into it. A quick bit of housekeeping just before we get into the content. Do drop any questions you have into the chat as we go. We'll try to get to as many as we can at the end. And don't worry if you'd like to share it with a colleague or something. We are recording today, so it'll be available on demand, and you'll get a link to the session afterwards. So super quick introduction from me. My name's Alexandra Hayter. I'm the Director of Marketing at Workiro Virtual Cabinet. So I've been working in the accounting space for over 7 years now, although I'm definitely not a trained accountant by any means. And that's exactly why we've got Ben Symons, Director of Serenity Accounts, joining me today. He'll be able to give you all the expertise and the practitioner's view that I hope many of you will recognise. And we will introduce him properly in a moment. But first, this is what we're covering. We'll take a look at why admin is quietly costing most practices far more than they realise. We'll put some real numbers on that. We'll hear directly from Ben, who will walk us through exactly what changed in his practice, what it meant in hours recovered, and hopefully some questions at the end. Now, I just want to start by giving you a question. Does any of this sound familiar to you guys? So chasing a client for the third time to sign off their accounts, searching back through 6 months of emails because a client's disputing something and you need to find the approval, entering the same client information into 2, 3, 4 different systems because they don't talk to each other, and then potentially even paying for an e-sign tool on top of everything else. So hopefully some of you are nodding along to at least some of those points, because the thing is, none of these feel like a really big problem on their own. It's 2 minutes here, 20 seconds there, but they really compound. And when you add it all up, you'll find that it's most likely quietly costing your practice thousands of pounds a year in time that you just can't bill. And in some cases, it's potentially also creating compliance risks that you might not know are there. So that is exactly what we're here to talk to you about today. You might be duplicating information, manually saving client emails, paying for bolt-on subscriptions, but let's put a specific number on it, because I think this is probably where a lot of people have a little bit of a light bulb moment. So take something simple like filing a client email. So you'll agree it's probably not a complicated task. It might take you maybe 2 minutes. You download it, you find the right folder, you save it there, then you get back to your work. But if your practice is handling 200 client emails a day, and each one takes 2 minutes, that's 400 minutes a day. And maybe it doesn't take you 2 minutes, maybe it's 30 seconds, you've got it down. But that's still over 100 minutes a day, or about 35 hours a month you're wasting filing emails. So as you can see, over a year, you're taking thousands of pounds from time that you can't bill. And we'll go on to this a little bit more, but for Serenity Accounts, that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't from one big change that it made, it was from lots of small ones that maybe some people don't individually think is worth worrying about. And that's called the marginal gains mindset. And that's kind of exactly how Ben thinks about running his practice. So let me bring in the person who's actually lived all of this, the person that you actually want to hear from. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Ben Symons. I think he's exactly the kind of practitioner a lot of you will recognise in yourself. So thank you for joining us today, Ben. Do you want to introduce yourself?
So Ben, as you said, I'm from Serenity Accounts. I'm a small practice. I just work on my own. I trained in financial services, and they're very big on the marginal gains. It's the whole idea that big improvements in efficiency don't come from big sweeping changes. They come from lots and lots and lots of very small changes that have marginal improvements. I left financial services about 10 years ago, went to a medium-sized practice in the Cotswolds, and then about 4 years ago went out on my own. I'm ACCA qualified as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate the intro. So do you want to talk us through a little bit about what pushed you to make a change in your firm?
So I was sort of quite annoyed with the fact and the cost that I had lots and lots of different softwares that, one, they cost quite a bit because it was like a proper app stack, and I'd sought advice and they said you need all this software, but none of them really spoke to each other. So I was entering, as well as paying for each one individually, I was having to enter the same information over and over and over again on all these different systems. The other side of that was I used Accountancy Manager, which has a portal, which works quite well if people know how to use it. But with the portals, I just found that my clients either didn't sign up, or if they did sign up, I'd have to spend an hour explaining to them. I think I had about half a dozen people that just signed up to the portal on their own. Everyone struggled. And it wasn't an Accountancy Manager thing. I tried other portals and they just didn't like the sign up process. So I basically wanted something where they could just sign it off. So what happened was I just kept using Adobe Sign to get stuff signed off, which just took time.
Awesome.
And that pretty much sums up all my frustrations.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. And honestly, I don't think your experience is unique. You know, I think it's what we hear from practices on a lot of different software stacks, you know, not only Xero, but Carbon, Iris, Bright, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not an issue with the tools themselves at all. You know, the problem is that they often don't share information, or clients aren't using it, and the person that has to bridge the gaps is either you or someone on your team. You know, an email might come in, it needs filing somewhere, a document needs tracking somewhere, a client might approve something, or there's an internal handoff needs to happen, you know, that needs recording somewhere as well. And each one of these somewheres is extra work. So, you know, and then there's the cost. You know, most practices are running at least one bolt-on subscription. So, you know, Xero's e-sign tool is what, about £50 a month-ish. Adobe Sign, kind of similar. So it all adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, Adobe Sign is free with its normal subscription, so it's like £20 a month. But
yeah,
but it takes some time. But the Xero one is, I think it was £60, but I'm not that registered, so it was £60.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's just something that adds on every day, doesn't it? So
yeah, it is mental.
Yeah. So walk us through like kind of what changed day to day.
So I spoke to Xero because they'd like to do their like quarterly business help thing, and they recommended two things. They obviously recommended their own Xero Sign, but I thought that was quite expensive. And they recommended someone else, and basically what they did was they built connectors that use the API of Xero and other softwares to connect them all together. And you guys are in that conversation because you have open API, which means you let anyone connect to your software in the background. But the person they were recommended was way too expensive for me. So I thought to myself, why can't I do that myself? And I'd used Virtual Cabinet before, which is like an older iteration of Workiro. So I sort of knew how it worked. So I set about building the integrations myself and using Workiro to manage the document storage and the signage and all of that stuff. Signing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how does the kind of no login signing that you spoke about, how does it help your clients? You know, does it actually get them using it, or?
So they all use it. Oh, anyone who has an email uses it. So and no one's had any trouble because it's literally just a case of you send them something to sign and they click on a link and sign it. They don't have to, no emails, no passwords, no answering 1,000 questions, no logging into a portal. It's just each document has its own unique link that when they click on, they can sign it.
Amazing.
And that's it.
Yeah, no, it makes it a lot easier. They don't have to remember a password or create an account, and yeah, people get bogged down with that, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it means that so things like people can do on their phone and their iPad, and whereas if you're like me and blind as a bat, if you try and sign up for anything on your phone, you can't redo it because you can't read it. Whereas you can see a big signature box just about.
Just about. And I think when we were talking earlier, you mentioned also about it was really helpful when you got to edit documents as well within Workiro. Like, how does that help?
Yeah, it's not something that I do very often because I tend to build automations rather than use spreadsheets and stuff. Mm-hmm. But where I do use spreadsheets, the idea that you can just open a spreadsheet in Workiro, edit it, and it just uploads the version. It gives you a version control without having to actually save loads and loads of different spreadsheets within the same file. So it's like it's one spreadsheet, and then if you just open that spreadsheet, it will say you're opening the latest version, but you could open 5 versions ago. You can see who's changed, like when it changed, who changed it. And it just means that rather than having to every time, so say you're doing working papers once a year, you can just open last year's working paper. You can have one working papers file running over and over again that just gets updated once a year. And you still have all the older versions. You don't have to save new spreadsheets and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I can see the benefit of that, and it also helps with collaboration. If you have team members that are working on something as well, you've got one central place to store things.
It uses Office 365, so it has all the same benefits as if you were using Excel Online or Word Online.
Yeah.
So collaboration, adding notes, pointing to stuff while people are on screen with it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Amazing. So, Ben, did you want to walk us through kind of an example of how you use this in practice? So, how does it get used in an everyday workflow?
So, the workflow I like the best is I basically built a workflow that will log into Xero. So I click a button and it logs into Xero, downloads a CIS return or a VAT return, and then it saves the amount due and adds it to a database I've got that does payment reminders. And then it sends the document for signing through Workiro. So it's literally clicking. So for a VAT return, for example, the whole process, I click a button to send it, and then I click a button to file it once someone's filed it. And that's my own workflow. That's because I quite like Xero work papers, and this adds on to that, and it updates all the statuses and that. But you guys have got your own workflow things as well. So I've done it with fancy APIs, but I'm pretty sure you could do most of it. You would need the little tag on bit for the downloading, but you don't need all the fancy APIs that I've got. You could do most of it just with your workflows.
Amazing. So does that help you in your practice then?
Yeah, it helps me in 2 ways, as well as the time. So before, if I was to download something, merge it with a cover page, send it via Adobe Sign, and then when they sign it, I'd have to download it again and file it somewhere. That would take probably about 6-7 minutes. Whereas now the whole process takes me 1 to 2 minutes. So there's the saving of time. So that's like 5 minutes per document. And also because the numbers are being picked up automatically, I'm not typing them in incorrectly to a database, or I'm not sending someone an email saying you owe, £967 when actually they owe 976, because computers don't make those mistakes. When they see a number, they get the exact number, a bit like Excel doesn't add stuff up from, and we do. So there's no human error. It removes the human error. So if we say that, but the main thing is the time saving. So that's the time saving of about 5 minutes per document. So then what happens is if you were to extrapolate that, so you have like 120 sets of accounts. So for me, I have 120 sets of accounts, 135 tax returns, 60 VAT returns, 100 CIS returns, 120 payrolls, and 10 confirmation statements. That was in the year I looked at. So that was a saving of like 45 hours a year. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
just with the signing part of Workiro. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So obviously you're telling us kind of how that's worked for your firm. And I think 5 minutes per document is amazing. I also really like that you can do things quicker but with less mistakes. I mean, that's ideal, isn't it? Because normally when you do things quicker, there's more mistakes. So it works.
It's also a mindset, because on a day-to-day basis, you don't really notice it. Yeah, I mean, so if I look at all those numbers, I'm doing what on average one. I'm sending, you know, I know it doesn't quite work as one a day, because some days you have lots, some days you have none. But on average, I'm doing like one a day. So it's so no, 1.5 a day. But anyway, even so, 5 minutes per signature doesn't really make much difference, does it? You don't really notice it.
Yeah.
It's only when you think of, like you said at the beginning of this, when you think about it over a longer period, that you realise how much longer it's saving you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there, 5 minutes there. And you think, oh, you know, why do I need to change that? Because that's like, it's only 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. But actually, it's about the volume, isn't it? So it all adds up, doesn't it?
And that's where the emails came in. So I was spending about 2 hours a day. You know, I have about 200 emails, and I was a little bit quicker than what you said. So I was taking about 2 hours a day, downloading, saving my emails against clients. And now in Workiro, it takes about half an hour a day. So that's about 390 hours a year.
Yeah.
You add that to the 435 hours a year, which all of a sudden seems like loads.
Yeah. I mean, just spending 2 hours a day originally doing all those emails, filing all those emails is you know, it's a big chunk of time, isn't it? So for you to be able to reduce that by what, 2/3 or something, to no, 1/4, 3/4. Sorry, it's great, isn't it? So.
And also, it's really boring. Who wants to file emails?
Yeah, that's probably not why you got your ACCA qualification, is it? I wanted to do that.
It's not why I exist. No one wants to do that in any job.
No, exactly. Yeah. So at least, you know, then it gives you time to do the work that you actually want to do, you're qualified to do, you make money from doing. And so, you know, it's perfect, isn't it?
Or even if not, I mean, I'm big on the work-life balance. I work for, you know, again, financial services. Their reputation's bad, which means they have to go the extra mile. Their work-life balancing is insane. I'm big on the work-life balance. It is, and yeah. So even if you're saving 2 hours, so I had so part of the marginal gains thing. I was in a marginal gains team, and the head of that used to say you have 8 hours of work to do a day. If you automate that 100% so that it gets done automatically, and essentially it takes you 0 minutes to do, if you then do an hour of extra work and then spend 7 hours drinking tea, you're still an hour more efficient than you were before. So if you're not spending 2 hours, so say 2 hours, so I've saved an hour and a half a day on emails. If I spend half an hour of that working and an hour of it, watching Taskmaster, then I'm still doing an extra half an hour a day's work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're also spending an hour enjoying something that you like and decompressing from work. So you know, that really helps, doesn't it? And it is about balance in anyone's life, isn't it? You can't just work flat out all the time. So no, that's amazing.
And then the final thing, just because we have pretty much gone through the whole time saving thing, the final thing to say with the time is obviously 435 hours is what you can measure, but then there's the immeasurables, the things that happen every so often, so like you have a client rings you up and says, oh, I can't find my email about this, and you have to find it. And then you have, registrations, deregistrations, letters of engagement that all need to be signed. I mean, they are time savings. You just can't really put, because you go through periods where you don't do any for months, and then you'll have 1,000 to do in a week. That's probably an exaggeration, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's not really measurable. You can't. I haven't included that in the time saving just because there probably is time saving, but saying how much is impossible.
Yeah, well, that's very true, isn't it? Because I guess if you're saving time, you know exactly where everything is. Then if someone rings you up and says, "Oh, I've can't find my I can't find my last self-assessment and I need it," then you
Yeah,
can then be like, "All right, well, I can just either you just go into the portal, or if they don't want to use the portal, you can just find the email really quickly and send it to them. It'd take one
yeah,
minute." Rather than being like, okay, well, let me find out where this is in my inbox. Okay, well, it was 8 months ago, so I've got to go into the old bit. It's going to take me a while for Outlook to search, and yeah, and then you're looking through a few different emails. What are the last emails I sent him? And then
yeah,
that's 10 minutes all of a sudden that could have taken you, a minute just to grab it quickly. So yeah,
yeah.
I get that as well. That's probably a big time saving, but because it's so ad hoc, you can't put a
Can't really
number
put
to
a
it.
value on it. Yeah,
No, I get that. I get that. Um, so obviously the numbers really do speak for themselves, but I just wanted to pick up on something that I think does get overlooked as well when practices weigh up this kind of like marginal gains mindset and the workflow change. So far we've been talking mostly about time and money spent, and obviously that was the headline of the webinar, but there's another dimension that matters just as much, especially for if you're a practice that's regulated, dealing with HMRC on behalf of clients, which most firms do. So every email that doesn't get filed properly, or every approval or document that comes in informally gets lost in an inbox, these aren't just time problems like me and Ben were saying, they're also compliance risks. So if you think about it, you're acting on behalf of a client, something changes, they approve it by email, message, whatever, and then 6 months later there's a dispute. HMRC is, comes knocking, they're asking questions. But if that correspondence is captured against the right client matter, it's tagged, audit trail, time stamped, it's searchable, you can find it in 5 seconds. If it's in a folder somewhere, or perhaps it's in an inbox of someone that used to work with you but left a month ago, and you can't really get into their emails and you've got to speak to IT and everything, that's a very different conversation. That's quite a headache to have to deal with. And for a regulated firm, it's essential to make sure you're compliant. So obviously, I've just been talking about audit trails, and I want to pass you back to Ben, who's going to share an example of what actually happened in his firm. I think it was earlier this year. So Ben, I'd
it
love
was.
for you to tell everyone exactly
Yeah, it
what
was
happened.
just a really quick story. I mean, in February, someone hadn't paid their tax, and they rung me up and said that they didn't know about it, and they didn't agree with the amount, and they wanted me to pay their penalties, and they were going to report me. And I just found the signed return, sent it to them, found the emails where I'd sent them payment reminders, sent it to them, and that was sort of the end of it.
Nice.
you
Yeah.
know, I want to go into massive detail about all of but there was no back and forth. I sent him the stuff, he apologized, and that was the end of the conversation. And like you said, I'm not saying I wouldn't have found all that stuff before, but being able to do it whilst I'm on the phone to him, saying, "Oh, I've just forwarded you all the stuff," I think is sort of right. And him
Yeah.
apologizing, it just means that, I mean, he was happy is probably the wrong word, but he was okay.
Yeah, he was
um,
still annoyed about that he'd missed the payment deadline,
yeah, yeah.
but he wasn't
But
annoyed with you as
wasn't
much.
annoyed with me anymore. No,
Yeah, and
and
that's it.
it
That's
just made
customer
it.
service, isn't it? And it helps
Yeah,
your
yeah.
reputation as well. He's
And
then
and I
going, yeah, okay, fair enough, he did everything. So,
and I think it's the customer service side, because I
mm,
think, I mean, Workiro's great, but I think we're all pretty switched on enough to know that we need to keep this stuff. But it's the side of it. So and I would have kept it. I had my folders and my filings. Yeah, I would have found all this stuff eventually, but it was being able to find it in 5 seconds whilst I'm on the phone to him and just forwarding it on there and then. And
yeah,
that's the side of it that helps, I think.
yeah. So it went from a little bit of a painful conversation, and then really quickly came into him actually just apologising, and then
Yeah,
him feeling just being angry at himself, and then
Well,
but
no,
yeah,
because then you can move on to actually helping him and saying, well,
yeah.
look, you're only a couple of days late. If you ring up HMRC, they'll give you a payment plan,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
and then
you
you
can go
become
into
the
actually,
advisor, don't you?
yeah,
And you
rather
actually,
than
yeah,
having to sit there and defend myself, going, oh, you definitely signed it off. Can you forward it to me? Oh, I'll go and look for it. Doesn't
yeah,
quite sound as convincing, does it?
yeah, exactly. And it would have caused a lot of extra stress for you, right? Having
Yeah,
to do all of that.
yeah,
And again, this isn't something that happens every day, but it does happen, and so it's important to be prepared for things like that.
yeah. And it's just the, like, I think I mean, I hadn't thought of it like that before, but you're right. It's the compliance part of it's important, and I'm guessing there's some people who don't file this stuff and would have lost it. But more important, it is the side that everyone would have. The side of it that everyone would benefit from is the customer service side of it, where you're still able to provide a good service rather than having to spend time defending yourself,
Yeah.
essentially.
And it's actually probably changed it from a negative conversation to a positive, because you've actually ended up helping him and
Yeah,
giving him advice, and then he's thinking, oh, he knows what he's talking about. He's helped me, sort this out, this issue that I've had. So
yeah,
it's actually probably been a positive conversation at the end of the day, hasn't it? So
yeah, yeah. Worked well. Like I said,
amazing.
happy is probably an overstatement, but he was
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, if you apologize, then that's all great. So,
Yeah,
yeah, amazing. And that's just, that's what happens when you've got a proper audit trail, when you've got a proper workflows in place, just like you've got, Ben. So
yeah,
well done. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about Workiro, and I'm not going to take up too much time. I just want to focus on a couple of things that Ben has told us about that made the biggest difference to his day. So first, email capture. So as we kind of have been talking about, every client email is filed automatically from your inbox against the right client. So there's no manual tagging. You don't have to hunt through your inbox 6 months later to find something. It's already there, saved. And it's actually worth noting that we usually only store the latest email in a thread rather than every single email, which I know is different to how some other providers might work. So it means that you don't have 50 versions. If you've got a back and forth email thread and email chain, you don't have to have 50 versions of the same email. You can actually just have the latest version. So it's much quicker to find everything. So you're not like, oh, which one is it? Which one is it? And then second, every document has a status. So it's either sent, viewed, signed, complete. You know exactly where everything is. You can have automatic reminders if a document hasn't been sent from the client. So that just means you don't have to chase them all the time. Where's this document? Where's this document? Which is really beneficial, especially on the run up to tax season, as we all know. Thirdly, some streamlined e-signing. So when you're e-signing, clients just receive an email with a secure link in it. They just click the link and sign. That's it. They don't have to create an account to go in and sign. They don't have to remember a password to log in. And as Ben kind of mentioned earlier, that's the biggest reason that his clients actually engage with the portal now, whereas the old portals he tried before, 70% wouldn't be engaging. And fourth, the audit trail kind of builds itself. So every interaction, as we've said, is captured. There's no extra steps. It's just a complete defensible record of every client relationship that you have. And then something new. So we've got automated workflows that were just released. So basically, your team completes a step in a workflow, and Workiro will auto-create the next action based on that task outcome. So let me just take you through a quick example to try and explain it. So adding a new client. So for example, you might send them a new client form. Once it's complete, that will automatically kick off the next task for you, which will be to check that it's all correct and all filled in. Then once you've checked it and approved it, it then will request the correct AML or KYC documents from the client. Once those are returned, it's the next task, and so on and so on and so forth. So you can have a repeatable workflow stage of tasks that just kick off based on the outcome. And obviously, if at any point they don't send the documents, it will mark the task as stuck. It will send them a reminder, and then suddenly everything's kind of documented, easy to refer to, rather than it being stuck in your head or in a spreadsheet, like what's the status of this, who sent what. And so that just means that you're not missing anything. You know exactly when to start work. And if someone on your team's away, then another team member can always check in on the status. And I think most importantly, and often we forget this, but client expectations are met, and it's good customer service as well. So I've been on I was on a sales call recently, and the person was like, "Oh, I'll send you a contract to sign." I was ready to sign it, and then they didn't send it for like 2-3 weeks. I had to chase them, like, "Can you send me the contract?" That's a sale that they're trying to get. So that's not a very good starting point for a customer relationship if you're having to chase someone to pay them. I just want to give you money, and they don't want to take it. But
and you still signed it?
Well, not yet. But yeah, so it's all about customer service. You're seen as you're always on top of things. You know what's going on, and that's a really good thing as well. And it's also worth pointing out that any Workiro plan comes with unlimited storage and unlimited clients as well, so you never have to worry about that. And we're also headquartered in the UK, so all of our support team, customer team, product team, most of them are based in Cambridge. So, we understand everything at a local level. And we've just been certified by Xero. We're integrated with most of your tax software. So if you use TaxCalc, Iris, etc., we're integrated with almost all of them as well. And then I'll just go into 3 examples of how you might use Workiro to improve some of the jobs that you do, every day or regularly. So onboarding, you know how it goes. The engagement letter goes out by email, comes back with questions from the client, goes back out again. You have to make changes, and all of a sudden there's like 3 versions in the email thread, and no one's quite sure which one they have to sign. You have to double check that they signed the right one. With Workiro, you can have just one version of that letter. So you have it saved in Workiro. Both the client and you or your internal team members can collaborate on it inside Workiro. So you don't have to download it, re-upload it, create duplicates. There's just one, and then that can be the one that's e-signed when it's ready. Chasing files, that's one that we've kind of touched on a little bit already, but say you've got 200 clients, and each needs chasing 3 times to upload their documents for their tax returns. That's 600 emails you're sending. With Workiro, these reminders will automatically send themselves, so you don't have to, and you can track the progress. Approvals and sign-offs. So has the return you've been working on been approved internally? Has the client signed it? What's the status? There's always so many questions. But with Workiro, the return goes out for e-signature via a secure link. You can have a look at it at a glance if it's been signed. If it hasn't, there's an audit trail, version control. It files automatically, and you can even have payment reminders automatically sent as well with workflow. So ask yourself 3 questions. What could it look like for you? So 3 questions. How many client emails does your team handle in a day? How many documents are you chasing either right now or during tax season potentially? And how many times this week has the same piece of information gone into more than one place? So if you start putting numbers on those, even like super rough ones, estimates, you'll begin to see where your time is going and begin to work on your marginal gains and how you can improve it. And when you see how many things can be improved, it's about the volume, isn't it? So, even if you're only spending 30 seconds doing something, if you're doing it 200 times, it's going to take a long time. So it's all about that marginal gains mindset. We are going to go to a few questions if there's been any, but I'm just going to launch a quick poll. So it should be on screen now. So just if you'd like any more information on Workiro, yes or no, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to record your choice. If anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn, by the way, if you've got any questions you want to ask outside the webinar, then feel free to find me on LinkedIn and drop me a message, or just connect and say hi. And if not, that's also fine. I'll give this poll a quick 5-second countdown, and then I will close it off. And I think we've got a couple of questions to go. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'll end that. So yeah, we can go to Q&A. I'll see if there's been many questions. Ben, I've got a question for you. Do you capture every client email against the client file or just the latest one?
So it takes a bit of habit forming, but I capture the first one, and then the conversation capture means that every subsequent email in that conversation is also captured and updated, and yeah. And it just means that if you get into the habit of capturing the first one, it means they're all captured, and it's just one, and it's like a document file against the client, and rather than being lots of different emails, it's just the latest in the conversation. So each document represents a conversation rather than an email.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm sure that answered the question. I've got one. I currently use Suite Files, but I don't love how it works. How easy is it to migrate my documents across into Workiro? So we actually do have a white glove migration service. So we can take documents from wherever they're stored, if it's Suite Files or OneDrive, on your local hard drive, wherever it is, we can take your documents and work with you based on whatever structure you want for your documents. We can put them into Workiro, so everything moves across with you. So that's, we can do that for anyone that needs it. We also have, training and onboarding, so people can get the best out of Workiro as well. So we offer all of those services as well. And yeah, Ian just asked, can you migrate files from Carbon? Yep, that's fine. We can do that as well. And then I also got another one. When Workiro automates saving down of emails and documents, where are the files stored? So they're stored within Workiro. So it's all a closed ecosystem, 100%. It's in the cloud. It's all closed. We've got SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, which means that we're very secure. Our system's very secure. So we've never had any kind of incident with anything. So it's and anyone can log in as long as you allow them access to it. So that's the only way to do it. But yeah, all stored within Workiro. And I think that's all of the questions that we've got. Cool. So unless anyone's got anything else they want to ask, we can just close it out. So thank you, Ben, for being so generous with your time today.
Thank you.
It's always, I think, more powerful hearing it directly from someone who's actually done it and it's working for them. So really appreciate that. And if today's got anyone thinking about your own practice, I think a best next step is to book a demo with us if you can. There's no strings attached. You can just have a chat. We can look at your specific firm setup, work out where the time savings might be for you. And you can, if you want a demo, you can drop me a message in the chat or go to workiro.com/book-a-demo. So we will send the recording as well within 24 hours, so you can share it or have another look through it if you want to. But thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you all spending the time with us. So I hope everyone has a nice rest of their day. Thank you.
Thank you.